All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakat, Madash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Yeah, you can just share it, verse. And yeah, as you can see in the title, right, the city of Harlots. Brother and I were just discussing um, a link, right, that you put in the chat. You got this woman, I think her name is Bonnie Blue, and she's basically talking about. Let me see what the title of the link said. But she's basically talking about doing something along the lines of what that other chick uh, Lily Phillips, something like that. Yeah, yeah, her name, whatever she did, but she slept with 1,000 men apparently. All right, not sure where that came from, but anyway, okay. All right. Let me know if y'all can still hear me. Hopefully, no audio interruptions this time. Um, but yeah, basically what Lily Phillips did was sleeping with 1,000 men. Um, and so this one is saying that she's going to be with 2,000 men. And I believe what she said was she's going to be what's that, tied up and available to the public, which is pretty crazy work, right? But there you go. This is, I mean, what do you expect? This is the city of harlots, right? Both being whored out spiritually, right? As when you read in Revelation 17, it talks about how in this place was found the souls, right? Which you're going to go into it as well. But you also have it physically, right? America is one of the places that promotes whoredom the most and normalizes it, right? For a woman to sleep with 10,000, and that sounds like a lot of people, but in her whole lifetime, it's very possible with how frequent, these women basically use their bodies, okay, which is against the natural order of things, right? It's against the natural use. As a matter of fact, let me start there. I believe the Apostle Paul mentioned that. I think it might have been in Romans the first chapter, if I'm not mistaken. So really, when you look at it, it's you're living in a society where everything is backwards, right? And so wickedness is normalized, and when you speak against it, because righteousness is abnormal in this society, you're looked at as having extreme views, right? Because your views differ drastically from what society sees as the norm. People today, a woman, today thinks it's part of normal life to say, "Oh, I'm talking to this guy, and I mean, he was cool, whatever. He was a whatever kind of guy. He wasn't really that great in bed, but it is what it is. Now I'm talking to this other guy. He's much better." So that ability to just compare men, left and right, that's really off because a woman shouldn't have to, be able to do that, right? In a righteous society, a woman would be with one man, and then that's the end of that. Because now you got a lot of situations where women in relationships compare their men to previous men, and that causes strife, right? Because um, human nature, right, in the minds of human beings, you value things relative to others. So when something, you really see the true value of something, at least in your mind, when you compare it to something else, right? If you were in a society where there were no like you didn't have the access to like different kinds of cars, you got different brands and different so on and so forth. Shit, you take a freaking 19, one of the oldest year cars, and you'd be very happy with that. You good. It isn't until you see the latest BMW or that Acura or that Honda Civic that you're now like, oh, then you start looking at what you had before. It's like, damn, this thing ain't even all that, because you're valuing it relative to other things. So when you have women that sleep around with multiple men, they value whoever they're with relative to all the previous ones that they've been with, and then that messes up the relationship because now in her mind she's like, oh well, the guy that I was with before, he didn't do this or he did this or he didn't do that, and X, Y, and Z. But that's not the way that it should be. Anyway, this is Yeah, let's get that. I think it's Romans 1. I'm going to find the exact verse. Um, yeah, we can actually start at 21. Romans 1 and 21. You know, and this is if this is a prime example why the Lord wanted to isolate us from the heathens. Okay, because when you look at even during the time of Paul, right, when he wrote these things as we're reading here, there's a reason why it sounds so similar to now, because it's still Jake being affected by these heathen customs and going in those ways. And that's why some of the troubles that Paul wrote about in the different letters to the various churches is still pertinent until today. Because the things that they were doing as the Romans and the Greeks, right, the Edomite rule at that time, it's the same Edomites coming back in this time, right? If you have an individual who it's in their spirit, somebody like Tubal Cain, right? Somebody like Tubal Cain comes back, he's gonna have that same kind of spirit. Cain or Tubal Cain is not gonna come back as, and that's different people, but they're not, say Tubal Cain, he's not gonna come back as a righteous man in this time. No, whatever spirit he had back then, he's gonna exhibit that in this time when he comes back. So the Edomites back then, as the when they played the role of the Romans and the Greeks, the things that they were into back then, when they come back on the earth again in this time, they're going to be into those same things. If you have a cat that ends up dying, right, and then comes back on the earth again, it's not going to start acting like a dog, and it's not going to start acting like a cow. A cat is not going to start mooing and shit, trying to eat grass and all of that, unless it's sick and it's trying to, heal itself. But a cat, whenever it comes back, is always going to be a cat, right? And so instinctively, it's going to move like a cat. It's the same thing. The way the spirit of these individuals are, that's how they're going to be when they come back. So let's get that, Romans 1, starting at 21. And let's also, after that, we'll hold Revelation 17.
There's the book of Romans, chapter 1 and 21, and it reads, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God.
Right. When they knew God, they glorified him not as the Most High, right? As they were going off worshiping idols, right? And giving the glory of the Lord unto another, when the Lord said he would not give his glory unto another. God.
Neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened.
Yeah, their foolish heart was darkened, meaning that their minds were corrupted by the ways of the heathens. So rather than staying in the light and serving the Most High, they ended up worshiping idols, bowing down to idols, sacrificing their children in the fire to Molech and to Baal. These are actual things that happen. So go ahead. All right, you good.
Verse 22, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools.
Yeah. So that's just like today. Like you have the quote unquote woke culture. As they proclaim themselves to be woke and to be wise and to be attaining a higher level of understanding, they're really becoming more and more foolish, because as the scriptures say, the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. And it tells you in Proverbs, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So as they think they're getting more enlightened, they're really getting further and further away from understanding. And therefore, they're becoming darker in the mind and more foolish. They become wise to do evil, right? They figure out new ways to commit adultery, new ways to commit murder and get away with it, new ways to eat abominable foods. And somebody say, oh, this is genius. No, it's not. It's wickedness. Go ahead.
And change the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man.
Right. So the glory, which is the praise of the Most High, which is incorruptible, they changed that into that of a corruptible image. An image is an idol, right? So what they did was they took the glory of the Lord, all the things that attributed to him, and they basically bestowed it upon an idol that they made with their hands. Somebody went and chopped down wood. Then you had somebody who's artificer or whatnot, or a carver, and he just etched, the design and everything. Then they coated it in gold or silver, and then boom, they say, now this is the Most High. They say this is the omniscient being, the omnipotent being. The being that gives us rain, that gives us air, that gives us life. So read that again.
And change the glory of the uncorruptible Salakia.
Okay.
Verse 23, and change the glory of the uncorruptible God.
Right. So the things that make that we glorify the Most High in and attribute to Him, they change that. Go ahead.
Into an image made like to corruptible man.
Yeah, made like to corruptible man. And because an image can be destroyed, right? It's made with the hands of man. And an image comes from the creation of the Lord. As a matter of fact, it's like a second-hand creation because it comes from the earth, which was created by the Lord, but it is formed by the Lord's creation. So it's a creation of the Lord's creation, and they're valuing it above the Creator. Go ahead.
And to birds and four-footed beasts.
Yep.
And creeping things.
Yeah. That's so. I think the symbol of Molech is an owl, right? And then you have like these different deities that they serve. You know, going into like Marduk and all these other gods, the Queen of Heaven spirit. You know, Dagon, which is the fish god or whatnot. Anubis, a dog, freaking Beerus looking ass. So they attribute these things to these corruptible, the glory of the Lord to these corruptible idols. And now Babylon has been that melting cup or that melting pot, which is taking all of those things and put it right here. So it whores you out spiritually and physically. Go ahead.
Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness.
Yeah. So the Most High said, "All right, you wanna go in this way, fine. You wanna go in the way of idols, go ahead." He's not going, he's going to put a spirit of a reprobate spirit upon them, so they can discern the right from the wrong. Go ahead.
Through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator.
Right. They worship and serve the creature more than the Creator. And that's something that the Most High hates a lot. And that's something that is promoted over here. Go ahead.
Who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause, God gave them up unto vile affections.
Yeah, so when you see people today, people committing acts of bestiality, people trying to marry animals, people trying to marry themselves, trying to marry their cars, right? The whole, the LGBT, you know what I mean, alternative lifestyle. These are vile affections that the Most High gave them up to. And majority of the people you see in there are Jake. That's how you know this is applying to Israelites. How often do you see a sodomite Moabite? Or how often do you see pride parades in China, or in India, or in freaking Pakistan? Go try that over there. Go to Dubai and try to do your parade over there. Go to Qatar and try to do your parades over there and see what happens. You're not coming back. So majority of people you see in this thing are Jake. If you ever see those kind of things, those celebrations, you'll see mostly Israelites over there. God.
For even the
quick precept to back you up on that. The point you made about a lot of these abominations that you see is mostly Jake. And the reason why it's highlighted so much is because Jake actually has laws, statutes, and commandments that forbids us from doing these things. Right? We're not supposed to do according to the ways of the heathen. All right, it tells you in Jeremiah the 10th chapter, right, not to follow after the way of the heathen, for there are a whole bunch of abominations. The Lord does not regard them as anything besides spittle, So they're way beneath us, man. But there's literally a law, right? This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, start off at verse 15. It says, "Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord Yahweh spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire." In other words, you didn't see any form of the Heavenly Father. You didn't see his face, his arms, his legs, his head. You didn't see none of that. So you can't make an image of something that you haven't seen. Okay? It will be your misrepresentative, right? Just worship him as he is, which that's his name, Yahweh. You don't gotta have an image, oh, this is what the Lord looks like. Nah, bro, you can't. It's impossible. If you haven't seen an entity, how do you describe an entity? That's why Esau is so wrong with what he did with creating this concept of religion right? At least the way we have it now, with all this idolatry, which all goes back to, like you said, these pagan gods. All right, all they did was take all these names and rituals and customs and then transfer it into modern day and then put Bible on top of it, or Islam on top of it, or Quran or a mosque or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But that's all these things that they did. The Lord says not to what? Not to do none of these things, man. It says, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. Okay? So you're not supposed to create any of that. That means that you're making an idol. All right? You're not worshiping the Heavenly Father. You're creating an idol. That is why the image of Cheshire Borgia is an idol. Okay? And it represents modern day pagan Christianity. That's all it is. Okay? The whole concept of Jesus Christo, you're worshiping a pagan idol. Okay? The Lord never put in the scriptures to worship no idols, man. All right? Verse 17. Deuteronomy 4:17. The likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the water beneath the earth. Meanwhile, you got niggas worshiping Dagon and shit. You got niggas worshiping the owl, Molech. You got niggas worshiping the image of a bull, which goes back to Baal. Okay? It says what? Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, right? The heathen are dismayed by them, right? They look into the heavens, the constellations, and then they go on all these predictions, and they base their life and their existence based on the heavenly patterns and so on and so forth. You're not supposed to do that. Okay? It says what? When thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Heavenly Father Yahweh thy power had divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. Right? So we don't have, all right, according to our law, as Israelites, you blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, so-called, right? You're not supposed to do the way, you're not supposed to do after the ways of the heathen, man. You can't worship these idols. You can't take anything on this earth and make it into an image of worship. You can't do that. Okay? You can't worship the sun. You can't worship the moon, which, again, like I said, it's already programmed in society. A lot of things that we say, a lot of things that we do is already, in this English language at least, it's already going into worshiping some type of object. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole concept of the heliocentric theory, which is the worshiping of the sun. Right, the sun is in the center and everything is around it, which is not true according to biblical facts. Okay, the earth is in the center. All right, the earth is the Lord literally created the earth. Okay, and everything else is in its firmament. Okay, the sun, the moon, the stars, they're all in the firmament, man. It's not the other way around. Okay, so that alone is sun worship. Okay, which goes back to ancient Babylonians, ancient Egyptians, and so on and so forth. Okay, you worshiping with the Catholic Church, the so-called Pope. Okay, which is all crazy. He calls himself the Father and all this shit, right? He's an image that people worship. Pope Francis pop out of that small little window and everybody crying tears. That's a form of worship. That's idolatry. You know, he's a father. He can't do no wrong. What do they call it? He's the infallible something papal infallibility, right? Meaning that the papacy is infallible, meaning they're never wrong. That he's the vicar. What do they call it? The vicar of Christ, meaning he's basically the representative of the Lord on the earth. That's crazy, man. That's idolatry as hell. You know? But these Catholics, leave it to them. They're going to worship that and worship Mary with the whole rosary and all that shit. That's all paganism, man. That's all off. Okay? And the Lord's going to come down with that judgment as we're reading the book of Romans, the first chapter. Okay? But you got it, bro.
Just to add a point to what Aharon was saying about how the Heavenly Father didn't want the Israelites to worship anything that they saw, making no images. You got to read between the lines sometimes of what the scripture is saying. Although it's not there, you got to read between the lines. One of the reasons why the Heavenly Father don't want you to create no image, just like the brother Aharon said, because you never saw him, but it's what? To exude faith, to have faith in him. Right? You saw the miracle of the parting of the Red Sea. You saw him feed you with manna. You saw the chariot itself. You saw him destroy the Pharaoh and his army. That should all allow you to what? Have faith in the Heavenly Father. Because you got to think and ask yourself, why is he so insistent on not making any image? Because like the brother Aharon said, what? His name is Yahweh. He is. So it's like, you see Yahweh in everything. You, me, the trees, creation, everything. It proves that a God exists.
How can you say that the Heavenly Father does not exist when we're on a planet that is in a galaxy with other planets and you don't even know the extent or the mystery of all the other things going on? There has to be a higher power that created all these things. So that's why the Heavenly Father never wanted the Israelites to be like the other nations and copy them and worship the sun. It tells you that, and I believe it gets into that in Wisdom of Solomon, the 13th chapter, or either the 14th chapter, where they start worshiping the sun and the water and things like that. Because the Heavenly Father, just to make it very simple, always wanted the Israelites, us, to have faith in Him, just believe. Yep, that's right. I was going to get that account, trying to find it. It should be in one of these chapters. No, the one of the actual account of them having to go through the Red Sea. So you gave that reference of it. But yeah, see if it's in one of those chapters over there. But matter of fact, before you see that, let's jump back to Romans.
This is Romans 1:26, and it reads, "For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections, for even the woman did change the natural use into that which is against nature."
Yeah, that's the point right there, right? And it's not just like the women dealing with other women and all of that, but it's against nature for a woman to be out here talking about she's gonna sleep with 2,000 men. Was that tied up and available to the public? Yep. What are you, a freaking government building? You know, and she might as well be, but that's against the natural use, because the Most High didn't create a woman to be run through by many men. Okay, in fact he created a woman to deal with one man. You know, and in a natural society, right, in a righteous society, people lived long. All the casualties and the causes of death you see today, they weren't really big factors back then. So there was more often that a woman would live, almost like a full age with her man. You wouldn't have a woman whose man ended up dying and then maybe she's going to remarry or so on and so forth. And even if that happened, most of the time they would stay widows because they would probably be already at an old age. Yeah, Judith is one of them. Well, she was a special case, But they would probably be at an old age. Maybe they're like 50 something, and then their man ends up dying. And nobody's really going to try to remarry them at that time. So they'll stay as a widow and whatnot. But today's society, dying, forget that. They have one argument and he's already dead to her. She's already out here, jumping on the carousel, okay, in the back of somebody's car somewhere, or a couple of people's cars somewhere, And as a matter of fact, I think there was a video of that. And I don't remember if it was like a man or a woman, but I think it was like on their wedding day or shortly after they got married. She's already in the back of somebody's car, Or matter of fact, I think it was his car when he walked in on it. She's talking about don't record me and shit. So that's what they got going on over here. But that's why this is the city of harlots. When the Lord said your woman is going to be a whore in the streets, it wasn't I'm just throwing that out there, what I'm saying, sprinkle a little bit of salt on there, just throwing a little something. The Lord doesn't say things of no value, okay? And so we're seeing a prime example of that. And it starts here. It permeates from Babylon into the rest of the entire world. Like I said, the whole world is so backwards nowadays that when you speak of righteousness, it's strange to them. Telling a woman that she should really only be with one man is strange to them. Just like in the ancient world, if you were to say, yo, go out there like a Plato society, right? It should be normal for, women to like deal with men as though you're going to the coffee shop to get a Starbucks coffee, That was strange back then. But now it's been reversed, right? The whole earth is out of course. Like imagine if you do like time travel, take people from here and put them back then, and take people from back then and put them here. You would have confusion. Oh yeah, what the hell is going on? Like imagine taking Abraham and putting him here, and letting him know that these are your people. Yeah. Or imagine what like Ezekiel, the dry bones, like what the hell is this? Like the Mohawk CNG with the like. What the fuck is that? Pink Mohawk. Got a man walking with a freaking pink ponytail and shit. You looking at even just like you say, even just the hairstyles. What they call man buns. And you looking at it, joint like, yo, what the hell is this? Dyeing their beards different colors and all of these things, and they would actually look mad. They would look like a crazed person, and even crazed people in the ancient world weren't going that far. You know?
And then you take the people from now and put them there, like, oh, y'all boring.
Oh yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God,
They
y'all
would put them to
covered
death.
up. Like,
Yeah.
oh my girl, come on, show something, reveal something.
They would have been cooked immediately. Immediately. Anyway, yo, you had something, Harlots? If you're looking for something.
Yeah, you found the precept you were asking for in Exodus?
No,
Yeah,
oh, you did?
Exodus
yeah.
14, where the crossing the Red Sea. You said
Yep.
where the Egyptians was chasing after us, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Exodus 14. Hold on. Um,
So that,
you could do. Hold on.
you can start 5 actually. Yeah, we found it.
Okay.
Yeah, 14 and 5.
Yep.
You got it. And that's an example right there. Block, I think we got an echo from yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You got the water. So that's an example right there showing you the like what Shalimar was saying right there, which is these signs. And you know what? It's so crazy because we don't even expect at this point, you shouldn't even expect Israel to remember what the Lord did back then, because immediately after he delivered them with that great sign, they already forgot about it. And the Lord explicitly told Moses, he said, yeah, nah, this ain't gonna work. He said, this is not gonna work. He's no. Matter of fact, you just witnessed what I just did, right? And then I'm telling these people, gather just enough manna. As a matter of fact, the fact that I'm raining manna down from heaven is not enough for them to listen to what I got to say. You tell them, just gather enough so you, or whatever you need for the day, and immediately they're already gathering more. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're literally still in the process. We're in the same book. We're still in the time period of Exodus. And you just saw something that people throughout centuries don't even get to witness. And you experienced it firsthand. And Moses goes for a couple of days and you already worshiping idols. So the Lord already told him, he said, no, this ain't going to work. I know these, no, I know how this is going to go. But you know what? The Lord still had mercy. Go ahead.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 14 and 5, and it reads, and it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people.
Yeah, and that's in Romans the 9th chapter. The Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart. So the Most High kept changing his mind. You know, he'll say on one hand, all right, you know, they can go. I'm tired of this madness, this BS. And the Most High will change his mind again. No. Why'd you let them go? No. Go after them. Go ahead.
And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us?
Mm-hmm.
And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him.
Yeah, it's like, you know how frequently your mind changes. Somebody asks me, yo, there's only, I don't know, 2 chicken drumsticks left in the fridge. I'm going to have it. Oh, yeah, that's fine, because you full at the time. That's fine. You can go ahead and have it. Then freaking the next day comes, you mad hungry, and you forget, and you go there, you looking for the drumsticks. You're like, yo, what happened to the drumsticks? You tell you I can have it. I said that. You know? So your mind just changes like that. But in this case, the Lord was specifically playing on the mind of Pharaoh to cause these events to happen. And so that's why when you read in 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter, it tells you, right, they that consent unto them shall be had in derision. Because you think that Esau comes and makes a deal with you today and tells you he's going to spare you and your family, and then tomorrow he's not going to go back on his word. The Most High is the one that controls his mind. What?
Verse 7, and he took 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt and captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel.
Yeah, so in his mind, he was like, nah, after that, we got to get our slaves back. You know, why the hell would we let them go in the first place? Like, what? You know, like when you do something in life, you're like, why the hell did I do that? You know, like, I'm thinking back, like, why the hell did I actually agree to that? Well, that's because the Lord was messing with his mind. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel went out with an high hand, but the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh.
Yeah, and we were on foot, right? And these Egyptians were on horseback. chariots coming with full speed. Go on.
and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea, beside Pi, Pi,
Yeah. Pi
Pahahiroi.
Pi Heroth, before Baal the Thumb. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid.
Now you notice how from Exodus and throughout the different scenarios, it's always at that like last minute, when things look like it's all stacked against you, right? When you even look at the time of the three holy children, it's at that last minute. The Lord didn't intervene when they were standing up against Nebuchadnezzar. The Lord didn't intervene when they were being taken to the fire. The Lord came right at the last minute as they were thrown into the fire, because that's what really tests your faith. Because at any point before then, you could still turn around and say, okay, fine, you got me, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna bow down, I'm gonna worship it. But the Lord, like, when you're watching those movies, something goes on in the basement, and then the character is going, and you're hearing the heartbeat as they're getting closer and closer and closer to opening the door. That's the part, that's how the Lord is testing your faith. He brings you closer and closer, like Abraham, when he was about to sacrifice Isaac. Right to be, hey, slow your roll, man. So calm down. We ain't doing all that. And so that's when you have faith all the way, because that's like a simulation of, if I had actually let you go through with this, you would have done it. And that's what the Lord is looking for. God?
And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord, and they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in wilderness?
See, the faithlessness, because when they were crying out to the Lord here, it was out of desperation, and they're telling Moses, look, so you can imagine how much hell he caught. They tell him, look, was there not enough graves in Egypt that you bringing us out here to basically kill us? That showed a lack of faith. But the Lord delivered them because for the story's sake, he had to do that. Now, they were able to call on the Lord because they knew his name, right? Because Moses was there. But in this time, you're not going to have that. You have Israel, you pretty much out on your own. There ain't going to be a Moses for you to go and complain to when he cries to the Lord on your behalf and all that. No. So you want to talk about the Most High's name is this and that. And you want to do, you can call him whatever you want. And you focus on all the superfluous things and not the important things. When you're backed against that body of water and the Egyptians come down upon you in this time, then, as the Lord said, go cry unto the gods that you have served and let them deliver you. Go ahead.
Wherefore hast thou dwelt thus with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is it not the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians?
Yeah, and also keep in mind that in this time, you will have individuals like that you run into. They have faith when things look good, and then they become faithless when things don't look too good. When everything is looking all good, oh yeah, I always knew it. Hey man, this guy, he knows the stuff. And then when things get to a point where now the Lord is about to intervene and show some miracles, then they start, I knew we should have just taken that. We should have just gone to the sea camp, man. We should have just gone to the shelters, man. I told you. They're going to keep, and when you got people like that are double-minded like that, they got to go. They got to go, because you know what it takes? Just pull them aside. Let an agent pull them aside and tell them, look, we got the building surrounded. Just tell us where he is and then turn the people in and you'll be fine. And dude like that will turn immediately because they don't have faith. They're not rooted in faith. God?
For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you to you today.
Mm-hmm.
For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever.
Yep. Because Moses knew that the Lord was about to deal with them. Remember, Moses was he was close to the Lord, so the Lord already, gave him that insight as to the miracles he was about to perform long before even Moses went and did all these things. All right. Go ahead.
The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward.
So they're surrounded. You got mountainous regions around them, and you got a body of water in front of them, and you got the Egyptians behind them, and Moses is crying to the Lord, saying, Lord, what are we gonna do? Deliver us. And he's saying, what you crying out to me for? Tell the children of Israel to go forward. Now at that point, you speaking a different language at that point. You know what I'm saying? You either speaking with faith or you're not. And if you're not speaking for faith, that sounds a little crazy to you. Go forward. What you mean go forward? There's what body of water forward. You know? But if you're speaking with faith, then you're like, all right, the Lord is not going to do all of this and bring us out of Egypt to drown us in the water right here. So if he says go forward, he must have, something is about to happen. So you know what? Let's just see what it is. Go ahead.
But lift up thy rod and stretch out thy hand over the sea and divide it.
So you see how the Lord is speaking to Moses? He didn't say to Moses, lift up your hand and point your rod over there, and then the sea is gonna. No, he said, and divide it, as if I'm giving you the authority to part the sea in half. You sitting there like, Lord, I don't think I've ever done anything like this before, but it's through faith. Go ahead. And that's a crazy ass thing. If you even look at the Hudson, you look at that Hudson just alone. We're not talking about like a huge body of water here. It looks huge, but we're not talking about that huge body of water here. And the Lord tells you, here it is, you right on the GW, and the Lord says, look, my man, just jump. You're gonna be thinking about that. You're gonna be thinking hard about that. The Lord says, look, I'm just point your hand to it, and I'm gonna part this body of water in half. Can you imagine what that actually looks like? And you being the first-hand person where the Lord is telling you to do that, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you're like, I fear the Lord, so I can't disobey him, but it sounds like this is impossible. Go ahead.
It's going to be impossible until it's done.
That's it. That's it.
And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen.
Now, Moses, being a faithful man from his youth to the Lord, and being even showed miracles beforehand, even for him, you can imagine it being like, hey, I mean, let's see, let's do it. How much less for people today who don't even believe in the scriptures at all? They believe in fables. They find it hard to even put faith in anything. How much less for these people today to be in a situation like that? And the Lord says this time is going to be a time unlike anything before. So in this time, it's going to be the miracles are going to be far greater than that of the ancient times. And you expect these people to have faith enough to provoke those kinds of miracles? That's why, as the scriptures say, they're going to be taken in a great number. See, with them, they're going to move their hands, jump, and drown. Or right as they jump, a shark is going to come up and chew them up. Go ahead. Oh, no.
I just want to say, because one thing as well is they never had to exercise their faith. Anytime something happens, they always went to Egypt for help. One example of that is with the stabbing jab. When things are getting crazy now, for these people who say they believe in the Lord, right? Jesus Christ, but you read about the scriptures, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, about all the miracles he did, all the healings. When that crazy, event was happening, where was your faith then? Why didn't you believe that Jesus Christ could heal you then? Because they never exercised their faith. The Lord has been exercising our faith. So that way, when the time comes, we're prepared. We're ready to, act upon it. As for them, again, they're always going to go back to Egypt for help. So it's going to be seen as bullshit.
Yeah, just like the brother said. They're going to run right down to Egypt for help, and they ain't going to get it. Instead, they're going to get the reverse of that, which is that death and destruction.
Then that's why they're going to, let's say you rebuke them and say, yo, what the fuck are you doing? They're like, what do you mean? What else am I supposed to do? There's nothing else. It's like, yo, have faith in God. Faith in God. God? What are you talking about? Right now? But hey, they were always going up talking about the Lord, right? God, this, Jesus, that, Jesus can do this for me. But when it's time for you to actually show, hey, what Jesus can do for me, you actually going right down to Egypt, going to Esau. And that's really their God. That's what they really trusted.
It's all gonna be shown this time.
Salaki, one more. What the Joker said in the Dark Knight, not right, the Dark Knight. He said to the officer when he was trying to get antagonize him, he said, people show you who they really are right before death. I forgot how exactly he said it. That's crazy. That's not moving like 100.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
In their last moments, people show you who they really are. That's it. They hate each other.
Verse 18, and the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them.
So that whole time they were being guided by a chariot, right? The entire time, because a cloud doesn't move that way. Okay, an actual cloud is not gonna go from in front of you and just immediately just go right behind you. Okay, so that was a chariot that moved back there to basically be a divider between Israel and the Egyptians. And if the Lord, provided protection for them back then, how much more in this time, right?
Look, and I just also want to say something. When you're reading the scriptures, well, you gotta imagine and envision that. Like, you know, like how when you go to the movies, surround sound, the all that, the buffering, all that, you gotta imagine when that chair moved, it got the attention of everybody. It wasn't just something that it just no, that thing had a sound and it had everybody looking up like, and it stopped right there between them and them. So it's not just something that it just it made sounds, everything, and then for them to see, hear, even probably feel the effects of it. And it's just like for them to just after crossing just be like, can he do anything else? It's like
Crazy. Yeah, God.
And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloud and darkness to them. But it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night.
Yeah, so it was in the nighttime, and the chariot, like when you visualize it, like the brother was saying, the chariot is technology, right? So you can imagine a half of it facing the Israelites lit up, and the other half is just all dark, no lights, no nothing. So these Egyptians are basically in the dark while you get light for the Israelites. Go ahead.
And Moses stretched out his hand.
So keep in mind that the parting, the deliverance out of Egypt, crossing that body of water, wasn't just a matter of just walking on dry land. There were a lot of things that happened here, a lot of miraculous things that happened here that were directly from the Lord, divine intervention. And all this to happen for you to turn around and not show faith to the Lord. So if the Lord was already dealing, that's why it says he's long suffering. Because he's like, it's gonna be a long journey, man. Because I gotta deal with these niggas from here into the time of the book of Judges, into the time of these captivities, all the way up until Babylon. And these they still ain't gonna get it. Go ahead.
And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided.
You know, when Moses, pointed his hand, the Lord had that wind. Imagine that, a strong wind. How strong? I mean, that wind was probably strong enough to freaking blow your ass away. So you can imagine that, and that's where they get those visuals of like when there's like a something powerful going on. You have like a lot of wind starts blowing. The garment is blowing up in the air and shit. You know what I mean? And then this body of water, this huge body of water, starts to just move, and actually part in half. That shit is, man, what a sight to behold. Guys,
and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left.
So imagine how deep that body of water is. So imagine how tall a wall that is. And you seeing fish inside of the water swimming around and shit, you know, and you're here walking on this dry land, this path, and you look into your right, and there's a huge wall of water. And your brain is probably like not even fully computing, like, how is water just standing up like that? You know? And you look to the left. And you imagine the shadow it casts as well. You know? And you hear walking, and in your mind, you're like, yo, at any point in time, if the Lord got upset. So imagine the sight that the Egyptians saw when we get to that part. You hey, hurry up, and boom, then the water just started. And now, and the Lord did it to where they were in the midst. So imagine that you got a long way to catch up, and you got a long way to go back. What do? If it's the crab shit, you know, you go to the front, you go to the back. Where we going? Yo, that was scary, man. Shit. If you didn't get crushed by the pressure, just drowning in that would have been terrible. But yeah, go ahead.
Hey, but just thinking about that too is that it says that we walked on dry land. Like, so you go from the bottom of the ocean, or in this case, the sea, where it's literally like mud and all that. It doesn't say that we stepped in mud because it was muddy, you know. Because when it rains on land, what happens? It get muddy. You know what I'm saying? Cars drive through there, people walking through there, horses walk through there, right? For now, at least, right? It becomes muddy and nasty. You don't want to be walk through there, right? But it became dry land. How? And we all walked through. Imagine how many Jakes was doing all that. All the tribes. How many people it is? All at the same time, in that instant moment, the Lord just split the sea like that. That's crazy, man. You know? And that's why we always say that to man, certain things might be impossible. That's why in Isaiah the 55th chapter, it says that for your ways are not my ways, neither are my thoughts your thoughts. Right? So the way the Most High thinks and how he processes things and how he sets things up, if it was left to us, it would never be possible, because it's like, well, we can't do that, so it's impossible. Right? Ain't no man could actually split the sea, so it's impossible. Plus, you're not even going to swim. How many Jakes you actually know how to swim? So that's even a problem right there in and of itself. Even if you knew how to swim, how you going to swim through the whole entire? It's impossible. But with the Lord, he made that impossibility so possible where we actually witnessed it. You know, it never in history. Like, what? Who? What God? Esau only got the power and technology to even split the sea like that. You know? So even that, the Lord got you beat. You never gonna be on his level, man. All right, but you got it, bro. And this is our God that we worship. All right, this is not the God of the world or the God of Esau. No. This is the God of the Hebrews, the Hebrew Israelites, man. This is our true God, Yahweh himself, and we found him. He made himself known unto us, and we found him, man. We're back in power, baby. Let's go. You got it, bro.
That's it. And it's only gonna turn up from here, you know. So when the Lord talks about, like when you read in Jeremiah, it talks about how it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that delivereth the children of Israel out of Egypt. But really, it's going to be the next deliverance. How great of a deliverance is it going to be in this time? You know, because we're reading about how great that deliverance was. So can you imagine how much greater this one has to be to eclipse and triumph that time? Go ahead.
Verse 23, and the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea.
See? So they went up right there. You know, they said, shit, if they're going, we're going. These dumbasses ain't stopped to think, wait, hold on. Why? What's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is the water all the way up this high? I mean, you want slaves that bad? I would have stopped right there and I called it a day, bro. Let's just go back. You know what I'm saying? We could till the land ourselves, but I ain't going up in that. But why did they do it? Because their heart was hardened. The Most High said, no, you going to go in there. They said, no, Lord, no, you going to go in there, nigga. Go ahead.
Even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen.
Yeah, and I believe they said that they found a chariot wheel at the bottom of the Gulf of Suez, you know, some years back. How does that end up over there? You know? Go ahead.
And it came to pass that in the morning, whilst the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily.
So how do you think the Lord did that? From the cloud or the chariot that he was in, to trouble them and basically take off their chariot wheels. You know? Like one visual, and I remember I was listening to the Apostle Ramlab, and he basically gave this visual and it made a lot of sense, right? As to how like the chariot could have been shooting little laser beams, like targeting the wheels of the Egyptian chariots, because at the speed they were moving, they would have caught up. You know, so targeting them. So here it is. You're going, and once that wheel falls off, like it says, it draped them heavily. So now that the steering is all out of course, and here it is. You got some soldiers falling off and shit. You know, you fall off and you lift up. And you're like, oh shit. So now your means of transportation is done. Go ahead.
In the midst of all that.
In the midst of all that, the wrong timing.
So that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians.
So they couldn't close in on Israel because every time they would try to get close, pew, pew, pew. Ah, shit, this is too much. You know, they got their Lord. Their Lord is actually fighting for them. Yeah, man, leave it. Just leave it. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians.
Oh boy. So imagine that. Now that Israel has made it out and crossed to the other side, now the Lord says, all right, now close the body of water on the Egyptians. What happened to God loves everybody? Wouldn't the Most High wait for the Egyptians to come out too? That's not fair to the Egyptians. Go ahead.
Upon their chariots and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea.
Now did Moses stop and say, well, Lord, they're still humans too. You know, we got to show some mercy to the Egyptians, Lord. Moses did, man, gladly. You know, close that shit. Go ahead. That's probably where they got the concept of water bending from. And then like Avatar and then those TV shows and stuff like that. Go on.
And the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared.
And Lord, it's that wind again. I don't cue. You know? So once again, so when the sea was held, and then after all Israel crossed, then the sea closed back. As it says, it returned to its strength again. So it was being held back. And then the Lord says, all right, let it go. Boom. My goodness. Like you ever seen those movies where you got those huge tsunamis and they're about to crash onto a city? Imagine that from one side and another side, all just closing back in. Add to your point, it's so crazy because that wind must have been so powerful to do that, but yet it wasn't blowing us away. That's the Lord, like really, like showing you, like this is a miracle. This is impossible, you know. But it's possible with the Lord. Yeah. Anything is possible. And the fact that we on this earth is one of the greatest signs of the Lord. Go on.
And the Egyptians fled against it.
See? So when they saw that, now, you know, we don't know exactly how it closed, but the Lord could have had to start closing from Moses' side coming towards them. Who knows? But the second they saw that, they tried to flee against it. You know, and I always think in my head, like, your chariots are broken down, your horses are tweaking, you're trying to run on foot. Where are you really going to go? You should just stop at that point. You know? How far are you really going to get? No, please. Go ahead.
I should never joined this.
That's it.
Eggs and Esau's on it.
Yep, get it. Should have stayed back and ate them leeks.
Don't tell me now. Don't join the army.
They felt special when Pharaoh told them, hey, get them 600 special men. Let's go, special ops. Yeah, special ops is bugging out down there in the bottom of the Red Sea. So however news got back to them, imagine how the Egyptians back home thought. You said they where now? Pharaoh never came back. You know? And his son was already dead. Go on.
And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea.
Damn.
And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them.
Once again, you got to visualize this. Like Shalaman said, the sound, you know, of this huge body of water, boom, crashing in. You know, when the waves crash into each other, you know, and then the water starts shaking. If you've ever been like to the pool or you see the ocean, they hit and it looks like the water is shaking, you know. And these niggas drowning.
It says the sea's roaring.
There you go.
I believe in is this Second Esdras or I forget exactly where, but it talks about the seas roaring. So that's basically that, you know.
Right. That's right. So that's like the fear of the Lord. So imagine Israel turning around and now they're like, huh. So all this now the water looks this out like it did before. Now there's also something interesting because when you read in the book of Josephus, it tells you that the Lord had the weapons and armor of the Egyptians float to the top for Israel to use. Oh, really? Okay, because that's why when they went up against the other nations, they had weapons. Because when they left Egypt, they didn't have any weapons, and it wasn't like they just went to the local gunsmith right there in the wilderness and purchased a couple of ARs and shit. You know, got some pepper spray boxing going on, so they could be ready for the freaking Amalekites that are gonna meet them down the road.
So that they could be ready for when the enemy comes.
That's it. When enemy comes. That's it. Yeah, if you can find it, that would be perfect. You go ahead.
And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them.
Everybody was cooked. Go on.
But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses.
Yeah, so the Lord probably had because your dead body starts when the body dies, eventually floats to the top. So the Lord had their bodies come to the shore. Go ahead. Maybe that's where they got the what? That about? Yeah, let's go into that.
I also want to mention, just to say how the Lord covered all the bases when he destroyed Egypt, because you mentioned about Pharaoh and his son. So think about it. After all the plagues that the Heavenly Father hit, the crops being destroyed, the animals being destroyed, right? He disrespected their God's will because some of those things went into the God, right? So he pretty much decimated. Then on top of that, he had at the end your army and your best ones as well go and follow the Israelites. Now your army's gone. Your king is gone. The next heir is gone. I don't know if he had another son after that, but pretty much. So it's like, okay, well, damn, what the hell do we do? Right. Our land is pretty much destroyed. Food is pretty much destroyed. The people is all messed up as well because the death of the firstborn. So they got to deal with that. So, yeah. No, not the rice. Oh, yeah. So that as well. So you can't drink no water. So it's like, yo, what the hell are we supposed to do? So the last thing you're going to think about is chasing the Israelites. Think about it. If you had your army and stuff, you'd be like, yo, get revenge to them. Like, yo, them and their God did. It's because of them. Go chase them. It's like they didn't have no means to, because it's like our army's gone, our king is gone, we're messed up. It's like it makes no sense for us to chase out. Just leave them alone. Let them have it. Down to the ground. I'll beat you down. Go ahead. And that's what the Lord's going to do to the city of Harlots, the modern day Egypt. But this time with fire. See, what the Lord did was he took them Egyptians out and drowned them over there in that body of water. This time the Lord is going to bring the destruction to this land, and close it in like as if like how the body of water closed the ancient Egyptians. He's going to close the missiles in on here and create that lake of fire. I feel like it was only in Josephus though. Maybe I read it. Yeah. Yep. Exodus 10:7. And Pharaoh's servant said unto him, how long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve Yahweh their God. Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? Yeah, so even before as Shalimar was going into just to expound and add to his point, they already were defeated. They were already, Egypt is destroyed. Pharaoh's servants are telling him, like, yo, just stop. Like, yo, it's over. Like, it's like, imagine you in a fight and the nigga's beating the shit out of you. And you come back to your corner, yo, your eyes falling out, fucking missing teeth. Yo, I'm going back in there. Nah, it's over, man. Stop. He's like, nah, fuck that. That's the pride that the Lord put on him. The Rocky movie, I think it's the fourth one, Ivan Drago. Dude was like, throw in the towel. Throw in the towel. Right. And that's when Apollo got murked, right? He died in the ring. That was Pharaoh. He died in the ring because of pride. That's it. Yeah. So the hit. You keep that hit. You try to throw the punches. Eventually, you just gotta go down, lay down. Like Aaron the plumber.
Oh, Aaron the plumber. Yeah, that guy's a clown.
Yeah,
Square up,
there you go. He got beat up.
He
Always
beating
said
the
beat up. Oh, every show he goes up and starts square with somebody.
even the Mo beat him up once, I think.
Oh
Yeah, some TG. He went to talk about hey queen. He said, yo, you gonna need to stop talking to me like
Oh, he
that.
called somebody that?
Nah,
Somebody
some,
called him that.
some TG
Oh.
called him that, and apparently he was dealing with the TG, and so the TG tried to put him on blast. Like, hey queen, you wasn't talking like this when you was, with me, man. He's like, yo, stop, y'all, you ain't gonna talk to you. And then you guys asked,
Talking about Queen. Brolic ass nigga, a whole fool. He got a TG cussing him out. He got mad. He's like, yo, watch your mouth, talk about Queen. And then the TG's voice got mad deep. What the fuck, nigga? I said, oh shit. And started beating the brakes off of this fool. But it just reminded me of this street fight shit that used to happen with Kimbo Slice and them street fight dudes. And one time, this big brolic dude was fighting Kimbo Slice, man. Yo, he got the hands put on him so much, the nigga said, he started begging for mercy. He put his hands up, trying to hug him and shit. His eyes was falling out. Teeth broken, blood bleeding all over the place. I'm like, damn. He's like, yo, you got it, man. You got it, man. Nah, he ain't got it. He's still fucking him up, man. And then his man had to come around and like, yo, chill. It's over with. It's over with. And now he want to give hugs and daps and shit like, yeah, you the man. Nah, nigga. See, the difference between that kind of fight and what the Lord is going to do is, the Lord is, he's that's why he's called a man of war for a reason. And we're giving examples of how he did to the Egyptians. This is all a foreshadowing of what's going to happen to America. Okay, now remember, America encompasses the spirit of Egypt, the spirit of Nineveh, the spirit of Assyria, the spirit of ancient Rome, the spirit of Babylon, all these different empires that have existed that literally their lifestyle choices came against the will of the Heavenly Father, right? And most of the time, they were oppressing the Heavenly Father's people. Doesn't it tell you in the book of, I believe in Zechariah, that it says, he that toucheth you, toucheth the apple of his eye, right? So all these nations had a role to play in the downfall of our people and in our nation. And in the midst of doing that, especially Esau, Edom, what he did was, I'm not just going to take you down. I'm going to take you down so much that you're not even going to remember who you are as a people, okay? And then on top of that, I'm going to perpetrate myself to be the God that you're supposed to worship, knowing damn well that you're the only nation on this earth that actually has laws, statutes, and commandments from a higher being. I'm going to do everything in my power to fuck with that, disrupt that, okay? So when the Lord comes back, when Yahushua comes back, what do you think he's going to do? Right? It's not just, oh, I'm just beating you down and that's it. No, it's literally anger, okay? The scriptures talk about the besom of destruction. That's talking about those nuclear missiles, but not just that. It's the spirit within that, right? Because you could drop a missile, right, in a piece of land. Eventually, it might not blow over to a certain area, but with the Lord's anger, one missile expands into different parts of the land where you're not even like, damn, we didn't. Esau gonna be saying like, man, the missile that we created really is supposed to just destroy about maybe 2.5 acres of land. Just an example. But this kind of missile dropping, for some reason, it's hitting like 10, 12, 100 miles acre like radius. The blast radius is a little bit more incredible than what we thought, right? We didn't create it like this. So where's this all coming from? Then we're going to be like, yeah, we told you. The spirit of the Lord is going to be within those missiles, the destruction. You're going to feel it. You're not going to be getting the credit to, oh, Russia's nukes. Nah, it's going to be, yo, Russia created the nukes, but the destruction that these nukes kind of did is not what Russia was even able to create. This is like a different type of destruction. This is like I'm obliterating you. I'm blowing you off the map. I'm not just hitting you on the ground and that's it. Nah, I'm not. Oh, I'm hitting you and giving you a time to. Oh, time out. Oh, I'm sorry. I regret now. No, this is I'm finishing the game. Like I'm finishing the match. Like I'm putting my foot on your throat and I'm twisting and turning. I'm obliterating you. I'm destroying this motherfucker. Like you done. You up out of here. Ain't no, oh, let's sit down and talk and have peace talks and Yahushua sit in the UN meetings and they all talk. No. That's why we're here to give you the warning. When he comes back, ain't no talking. Okay? That's why in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, it says that though they were afraid, yet durst fight. The Lord is going to have to put a spirit on them for them to actually fight him because of the fear, the dread. That's no joke, man. And that's the picture we're trying to paint so you can understand because we've seen it. We read the prophecies and we know exactly the power that we serve and what he's going to do to this place. We are mere mortals and we think of the kind of destruction that we would like to cause upon this wicked ass place. How much more the Heavenly Father himself? Okay, scripture says what? Thy heart shall meditate terror, right? In our minds, we always thinking of how this place is going to go down. When is this going to go down, right? So imagine the Lord, man, who sees all things that we don't even see. We don't see, man, man, it's insane, okay? And the Lord's going to bring up literally every single judgment. We always say that we're in the sentencing stage. And all these things that we're saying, the Lord has even seen more, even in the past generations, past empires, all that is all building up to now. So that destruction is going to be very, very devastating. That's why America is going to be non-existent. It's not going to be a punishment that you could come back from. There's not going to be a deadly wound that you're going to heal from. Nah. That's why it tells you in Jeremiah, I believe 51, where it says, well, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Or is it 50, right? So regardless of how you go about it, Trump, Biden, whoever, it's not going to change anything. The course of America's destiny is for her to be destroyed, according to biblical prophecy. And they know it. That's why they're preparing for it. You could build a golden dome, a silver dome, whatever dome you got. The Lord is still going to destroy you within 1 hour. And that's a fact. All right, you got it, bro.
That's right. That's right. Hold on that. Let's go to Revelation 17. Start at the top. Just right, building off of that point, right, and even going back to the title, the city of harlots. You know, like Haran was saying, there's a reason why this place is so wicked, right? It's like a conglomerate, a combination of the wickedness of various empires of old, all revived, right, and in spirit in this location. You know, with advanced technology nowadays. So now, you know, they're bringing their idols to life, quite literally, with technology. Okay, and so it's going to be when it says that there shall be a great insurrection, right? The burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. It's going to look like a hopeless battle. It's going to look like being faced up against that body of water, and then the Egyptians right up behind you. Then where do you go now? And you'll start to see why we're going to need spiritual power in order to make it out of this this predicament, like they depict in those TV shows, like I always forget the name of this show. Something. I think it's something 8 or something. But it's basically you have individuals with spiritual power.
Code 8.
Code 8. Yeah, basically like they show you those kinds of TV shows where now it's not just AI or robots, and it's not just humans. It's a combination of both, right? To where the first dispatchers, they literally have the robots in the back of the drones. You know, those hover drone, whatever. And when they get there, they drop, land, boom, and they already got their guns pointed at you. You know, and they give you the countdown, 3, 2, 1. They're actually gonna start shooting.
I was gonna say, I remember let's go on that. And I remember showing the clip of that, like when it says 716, I believe, when it says they should be like madmen fearing none. So imagine that same scene, like you said, they drop down. Imagine Ezra seeing just the back of it. Now they have the appearance as well, you know, because they build them, you know, man-like. So it's like as they like this, and Ezra seeing it's like you said, they should be like madmen sparing none, but it's actual robot. But look, from the behind, you're not seeing the face. So it's like, yo, it looks like a man just killing a whole bunch of people.
Yep, that's very, very possible too. Yeah, and then they got the commanders of them are MK Ultra up. You know, so their emotions, the empathy, and all that is out the window. You know, it's feeding demons into them.
They show you that was the Winter Soldier. That was Civil War, when there was actually multiple Winter Soldiers, but Bucky was actually the perfect one because they were actually able to control him. But the other ones, they had, like you were saying, no empathy. They were just killers, just straight killers, but you couldn't control them.
Right. And they got that technology. I think a while back I was watching. They had this technology experimenting with like these movies are really, if you think about them, concept arts, right, or POCs. So typically, before you embark on a certain project, you want to see if it's actually possible via a proof of concept. So you'll try to do the most minimal version of it to see if these things actually work. So when you see these movies that you think are just blockbuster movies, but they go into like experimentation of soldiers, turning them into super soldiers, Wolverine, Deadpool, Captain America, and all these kinds of movies, and they show you in like some of the more recent Spider-Man movies, the Spider-Man movie that was like the least popular, the one where the spider wasn't like just some random exotic spider, but it was grown in a lab and like it was like specifically genetically modified, and then it actually bit him. It's the one with the first one. No, the other one that came out. It wasn't Tom Holland and it wasn't Tobey Maguire. It's the other dude.
Oh, Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, him. The Spider-Man that he was in. They show you that it was they geared it more to a technological side of things. You know, like they experimented on these spiders, and then one of those experimental spiders ended up biting him. But the point is, these are all like proof of concepts. Now, I think they were experimenting with starfish genes to see how starfish are able to basically regrow their limbs, and then trying to try that on actual human beings, like these military. So there are certain branches of the military that are just like unknown, and these are like experimental branches. The whole concept of Area 51, it's not actual aliens they got in there, but the concept is real with experiments. There's a TV show I got you called Young Justice, where they show you how one of the Superboy was basically like a lab grown clone of Superman, you know. And when they first broke him out, he was basically controlled, like mind controlled, but he had the abilities of Superman. Right?
Oh, I was gonna because you mentioned something about that remind me of that Jamie Foxx movie that came on Netflix. Project Power.
Yeah.
Power, and like some of them had hardened skin, and they show how they all went back to the test they did on animals and everything.
And also like Limitless, where the dude took the pill and it allowed him to use more percentage of his brain. He became, I forgot the actor's name, the Adam something maybe, but he used to take this pill and it would make him like super smart. But then there was time, so I think after like 12 hours or something, it will wear off, and then he would become like back to being dumb again, almost like Lucy, like the movie Lucy. But all these movies, when you watch them, they explain pretty well how these drugs and how these things work from a scientific angle. And that gives you insight to say, like, they're not saying these things like putting random shit together. These things are actually experimental. They're working on
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, for Limitless.
Yeah, okay, that was him. So yeah, go into that.
In the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and 1, and it reads, "And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters."
Yeah, and that great whore is Babylon the Great. All right, this land that we're standing and stepping upon is the great whore. Now, is it the whore because of the land itself? No, it's because of the people of the land. When it talks about Babylon, it's a personification of this land, but in the spirit of Esau, Edom. Okay, so the angel said he's going to show the judgment, but go ahead.
"With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication."
Yeah, so why do you think that America holds so much influence over a lot of these nations? Why do you think they don't why do you think they hesitate before just saying F that? Why do you think Iran is still trying to quote unquote have nuclear talks or deals with the US? Why not just be like F it and just cut the US off? Because they've made, going back, decades ago, they were partakers with this whore, right? Whether in forms of agreements or forms of blackmail, right? But either way it goes, they've been made drunk, right, with the wine of this whore's fornication. Go on.
Precept.
Yeah, bring it up.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, and verse 6. It says, I start at verse 6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." Verse 7. "Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed." So going back to the point about how she made the nations drunken, All right, in Jeremiah and in Revelation, it's talking about the same entity, the same spirit, so to speak, which ultimately is going to get that judgment in this time when Yahushua comes back. You got it, bro.
That's right. That's right. But
Revelation 17:3, and it reads, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns."
yeah, and that woman representing Babylon and the beast representing the system, right? Which is really just a conglomerate of different nations that have put their power together to form an actual unit. And that's why they move in sync. Whatever the U.S. does, you'll see it's happening in Europe, and the EU is just a block of different nations that are just put their power together, right? So they constantly work in sync, but it's not what the Europe is doing, America is doing is the reverse. Okay, a lot more people pay attention to what's happening here than vice versa, right? You hear more if you are in a foreign country about what's going on in America than you do in America about a foreign country, unless it's some major news. Okay, so John sees this whore, and it says, what did he see upon the whore?
A scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Yeah, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So when you look at the way this system is set up, it's not a God-fearing system. Okay, it's not set up to lead people in the right ways to serve the Lord. In fact, it's set up to do the opposite, to lead people away from the Lord. We're living in a world where Satanism is accepted. It's just another, a part of religion that if you want to follow, you can go ahead and follow. And they'll have after-school Satan programs for your kids too, if they're interested. That shit is crazy. How a witch can walk around openly as a witch and tell you that, and then they can basically be given authority to have a store to perform witchcraft in. Those botanicas and all of those, the government knows about that, but they're like, yeah, sure, we'll give you whatever you need, and as long as you comply, you can have your store and you can perform witchcraft in there. Reading from crystal balls, selling voodoo dolls, tarot card readings and all of that. And then on top of that, we'll commercialize it like it's something just fun. Yeah, come get a tarot card reading. I remember when I used to work, downtown, there was this woman, well, she was a demon, right? But she would always be sitting outside of the store, basically trying to get people to come and get a reading, Yeah, psychic, $5 psychic readings, make it nice and cheap for you and shit. But I remember one time I was in the store, she came in the store, and she started acting weird. Came right next to me and shit, just doing her regular talking and stuff. But it just felt mad weird being around her. So she ends up leaving. She's sitting at her desk, and I go out and I'm about to go back to work, and she's calling me directly. Like, yeah, no, you come. Like she really wants me to come, And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm running a little late. She's like, no, you're not. You can come here. Let me give you a reading real quick. I'm like, nah, I'm all right. And she's still pressing and pressing and pressing. So as she's pressing, I literally just had to leave, because she wasn't taking no for an answer. I said, you're not touching my hands. Shit, the hell out of here with that shit. Go ahead. Because you go over there and you leave with something. You think that you're giving them some cash, but you leave them with something. And these women, you got to watch out because they get into that whole spirit cooking and all that. They'll be so mad at you that they'll go and they'll start getting into this witchcraft. They'll have a doll, they take a piece of your hair if they could get hold of that, or your clothes or something that they can use, or a picture, burning it, as they call it, manifesting and all of that, burning them candles, stabbing certain parts of it with them needles and shit, and just hoping that they can do whatever it takes to hurt your ass.
Yeah, I got a testimony with regard to what you just said, because at one point I was semi-dealing with a woman that ended up being into that shit. And I was with her one night, and she was like, yo, do you want me to do a reading on you? I'm like, a reading? Like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, tarot cards. I'm like, nah, I'm good. And right then and there, I'm like plotting, like, I'm about to dip, about to be out of this, all this shit. But once I said, nah, she was like, what's the matter? Too demonic for you? Oh, shit. I was like, what? She just was coming out with it. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, duh. I'm not trying to play. And she knew I was serving the Lord because I started telling her about the Most High And you know what's crazy? Those demonic bitches, they're attracted more to a man of the Lord. That's the crazy shit. It's like opposites attract. So you got to be extra careful. And then, you know, I didn't try to make it too dramatic, but shortly after that, I just dipped out. You got to be careful. But there's no enchantment against Jacob. But that don't mean you just, you know what I'm saying, put yourself in a compromising position either.
Right.
You know, there's no enchantment against Jacob because the Lord gave us wisdom to avoid situations too. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I see. And that was the last time I seen that. Yeah.
But now that I think about it, there's a I think it's called on the top of the block, and the rent is looks like you got a Taco Bell, things that look like rent of course money. This store been around for over 20 years and it never went out of business, but it don't get enough business to stay open. You know I gotta be something satanic about that because you know in order to keep your business afloat, you gotta have customers. And I never see nobody shop in, but she's always there for her table, $5 to read it, and it never closed. And I seen many different stores close in that same on that block because of the rent. So that's weird.
Yep.
What I wanted to bring out is that the Lord was mentioning, giving an indicator, code word about it being a scarlet colored beast. And Esau is the representation of crimson and scarlet, red. So that beast is a representation of Esau and his sister.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, you gotta be careful.
That point y'all brothers just made right there, you go none other than Amalek. They are heavy into that type of demonic shit. All right. As a matter of fact, there was a video that I saw, and when we talk about demonic shit, they're heavy into demonic shit. I'm talking about like rabbis that do the actual rituals and they actually conjure up spirits and all kinds of shit, and it's real. All right. Why you think you got this guy LeBron James holding hands with them Jays, you know what I'm saying? And then they sitting at a table holding hands like they're about to do some type of seances and shit. I seen that picture, man. And the nigga looked all creeped out and shit. He was like, he's sitting there like his eyes is in the corner like, yo, what the fuck? But he knows what he's doing. Like he want that fame so bad. But there was another video where this was years ago where there's this she was like in her middle age, kind of like 50s, 60s, around there. And she goes up to, it's like a whole bunch of rabbis sitting there, all black and all that. And they have this table. And you have people come up to them and then they'll say something and they'll be like, oh, we want this. And then he'll be like, okay, cool. And then he'll grant it, whatever. And then it actually happens. So a lady comes up and she goes, oh, I want my son to become one of the biggest producers in Hollywood. Like, and then she kept saying it. She was fervent. Like, I want my son to be the biggest in Hollywood. I want him to be one of the top people in Hollywood. And then he's like, well, your son, what's your son's name? He's like, Steven Spielberg. He's like, what? Yeah, like, Steven Spielberg. Okay. And then she bowed her head and then he touched her hand and then he swiped the table or some shit like that and then painted, like, it was like a red thing and then he painted it on her. And then she said, thank you. And then she walked away. A few years later, this nigga is like one of the biggest directors out in Hollywood, you know? So I was thinking about it. I said, how is it that this motherfucker just literally just said it and then it like the nigga became famous? Like what happened? So they remember the name, and once you go through those rituals, they actually go through actual physical rituals, man. And those things, like you were saying, they light the candles, they do the satanic pentagram and all that. And this guy, Juice WRLD, I think it was a music video or something where he actually showed it, where they had the candles in the pentagram and all that. And he was like, oh, I sold my soul and whatever, and all this extra shit. I'm like, yo, they put it in your face, but they actually do these things. You know what I'm saying? And like brothers were saying, they always want to go for people who are heightened in the spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll come for you. It's like a sodomite who doesn't really want to get with a sodomite. He want to get with a straight man because it's like a certain spirit that they get from doing that. It's like, oh, I turned a straight man gay. Oh, like, you know, and there's a sodomite that used to work at my job back in the 20s, something, whatever, right? And he used to be in there, and they used to have discussions about shit like that. And every time I heard that shit, I'd just be like, man, if it wasn't for like work and this world that we living in, bro, like I would have done something to these niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when you're a kid, you have all these mischievous things that you do and shit like that. Like, I would have brought back my old mischievous ways just to hurt these niggas. You know, like pop their tire and then they get into an accident, something like, you know, something that happens that is like, oh shit, what happened? And they all dead. Oh wow, we don't know what happened. You know, I'm not saying I'm doing that, but I'm just saying that could possibly happen. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you hear these things and it's like they say it so casually, you know? And I'm like, man, like how I wish that we could be in a place where we could exact righteous judgment. You know what I'm saying? How these niggas getting so comfortable saying these things like, yeah, we don't like other gay men. We like straight men. We like to turn straight men gay. We like to turn them out. I said, oh my God, bro. You know? And same thing with these tarot card readers and shit, these witches. You know? They pass by. Remember when I used to work down in Fifth Ave? In TH? Yeah, man. Over there, bro. They on the floor that I was working on, they had tarot card readers, man. There was two of them, one Edomite and one Jake. And they used to alternate like every other week. Like this week, this one was gonna run it. The next week, the next one was gonna run it. And they used to sit right on my floor, the second floor where I used to be at. And they set the table right there and everything. Every time I pass by, they lift up their head and then their eye just be following you. Everywhere you go is mad uncomfortable. But they used to do that shit. Until one time, both of them asked me, yo, I've never spoken to you before. You mind? We want to do some readings? I said, no, I'm busy right now. Yeah, I don't get into all that though. I appreciate it though. You're not here for me. You're here for the people, the guests and shit. So take care of them first, you know? And it was like you said, your story, like, it was like almost every other day. Whenever they see me pop in, hey, how you doing? Are you going to do it today? Like, bitch, what the fuck? I told you I was never going to do it. What you mean today? Like, you give, like, it's like the door's still open. You know, you can still walk in whenever. Bitch, I ain't walking into that fucking door, man. You know, never want to walk into a door you can never return from. Nah, I ain't playing that shit. You know, for what? Your future.
Still here? It like froze a bit. Yeah. They got upset. Start messing with the feed. All right, let's see. We'll see if the connection come back. Maybe it just messed up for a bit. But yeah, where we at? It was Revelation 17, right? Yeah. What happened? Yeah. It looked like your connection just dropped. Yeah. Try to just join again. All right. Cool. Yeah. Back in 17.
So this is Revelation 17:4. And it reads, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color.
Yeah, and that purple is a representation of royalty, right? When you go into it, the reason it's a representation of royalty is it's not just because royal people just went and chose purple, but when you go back to the ancient world, that purple it goes back to a Tyrian purple or Tyrian dye, and that comes from I think it's a Muriel or something like that snail, which is a snail that basically gives this dye when you crush it. And you gotta crush. Yeah, it starts with an F. Yeah. And you gotta crush a whole lot of them to get just a little bit amount of that dye. So it makes it very valuable. And then they use that to make these garments. And so it was very expensive. And that's why only really the rich could afford those kinds of things. So when it goes into that purple, it represents like being arrayed in like that or high stature. Yep. But yeah, did you finish your thought? You know, you froze on there. You're on there.
Yeah, seeing didn't like the information coming out. But but y'all got it, bro. Yeah, the point is made.
Gone, yep.
Apparently, they still do it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they still do it that way.
Oh, look at that. Interesting. Go ahead. So she was arrayed in that, right? Go on.
And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
What you think she did with that cup? She made the nations drunk with it. So that's why we said like that wickedness permeates from here on out. You know, she goes around getting people drunk with that shit, you know, and then, you know, metaphorically, right, partaking in that fornication with her. And next thing you know, you would become like onto her. And that's why these nations are also going to get judged along with Babylon. And the Lord said, well, my determination is to gather the nations that I might, you know, pour upon them the Lord's judgment or his wrath. Go ahead.
And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great.
Why mystery? Because for a long time, which now is me more obvious, even you have modern day people that know that America is Babylon the Great. All right. But it was for a period of time, it was mysterious because it's like it's written up through the scriptures. But when you read certain scriptures, you're like, once you pass that time of like the ancient Babylonians, and yet you're still reading about Babylon, now it starts to raise questions like, who is this Babylon the Great or the daughter of Babylon that is mentioned in this context over here? All right, but through the Spirit, the Lord gave us the answers to that mystery to identify and link it with America. All right, and also Esau, Edom. Go ahead.
The mother,
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was also gonna say it also says I think Revelation 11, the place which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt.
There you go.
We don't want to explain why this place is called Sodom, but also for Egypt, well, not everybody was a slave here. Who came here on slave ships, and who also was living here that got enslaved? The Israelites.
Right. That's right. And then it's going to be the same Israelites that got enslaved that the Lord is going to deliver out of here in style. Go on.
the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
There you go, and that's the key part right there. The mother of harlots, meaning she births harlots. Okay, and so if you were to liken a city onto a mother, who would be the children? The inhabitants of the city, right? And so when you look around today, that's why you got Bonnie Blues that can come on here talking about they tied up and available to the public. Okay, one of the main things that's pushed in this society is whoredom. All right, and then that overthrows a lot of things, because what they do is they take and manipulate the natural use of women and use it to control men, but also to destroy society. And more particularly, they target J communities. Like I said, when you look at these like single mother homes and all this drama and this child support and all that, it's mainly affecting Israelites. Okay, it's not Moabites, it's not Ammonites. They ain't on that shit. Okay, Ammonites ain't on child support. All right, Edomites ain't on child support. It's Israelites that are on child support. I think I run out of time real quick. Then I got you.
God, I got a precept to back you up on that. This is the book of Nahum, chapter 3, start from verse 4. It says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. That's synonymous with Isaiah 47, right? And also in Revelation 17, as we're reading. It says, verse 6, and I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gauging stock, right? Everybody's watching America, and America represents the vile nature of the earth. Look at the American culture / customs that America does, right? And pushes it upon the face of the earth. It's all debauchery. You could have a bitch like Kamala Harris go down to Africa, take a waste of time, bro. Somebody should have just shot that plane down, bro. We take a trip all the way down to Africa, just go tell people, hey, listen, we'll give you aid if you endorse the TGs and shit, and the LG and so on and so forth, right? All that shit, all that crazy shit, it's not enough that you're doing it over here in your land and frustrating people, but you want to take it to different parts of the world where they don't accept that shit. It's different if they do, but you say, nah, you don't accept it, we're going to come in and say, listen, if you accept it, we're going to give you aid. And them people in Ghana and them, they were like, hey, don't come over here with that shit, all right? You want to do that shit? Stay in your country and do it over there. We don't want your aid, we don't want your shit, all right? You going to come in here with your aid, we're going to end up getting AIDS. Fuck out of here, we don't want that shit, right? So continue verse 7, Nahum 3 and 7, and it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for thee? Right? Jeremiah 51. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Right? So all these things is talking about who? America, Babylon the Great. Okay? Modern day Nineveh. You carry the same spirit as Nineveh. Okay? The Assyrians and so on. All these niggas. You carry that same spirit because the customs and cultures of America is a culmination of all these different empires that lived before in that kind of idolatrous societies. Okay, the spirit of the Chaldeans and all these different things, the enchanters, the witchcraft, all that shit. It happens here, man. It's done in a nicer way today, though. You know what I'm saying? But now, hey, these devils don't give a fuck. They just put it out on Front Street. They just come out and say it. You got a nigga like Klaus Schwab pull up looking like a whole satanic priest wearing all black, looking like a crazy ass villain. Talking about, you owe nothing, you be happy with a smile. Nigga, what? You know what I'm saying? That's like in your face. You know what I'm saying? You got niggas like Elon Musk saying, hey, with AI, we're summoning up the demon. Nigga, what type of witchcraft are you into, bro? You got niggas at CERN. You got Geneva in front of the CERN. They got the whole image of the Shiva. You know what I'm saying? And they worshiping that shit. They do blood rituals and sacrifices to these entities, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's all in their face, man. The pedo shit that they be doing with Molech, right? You got Hillary Clinton in those emails that came out, right? Pizzagate and all that. That's all going into child trafficking and sacrifices, man. You know, they do these things. They actually do these things, man. All right, these people are crazy. They can't be on this earth, bro. Right? That's why the Lord's going to do away with every last one of these devils. And when we get our hands on them, as it tells in the book of Psalms, we're going to bind their kings with irons and their nobles with fetters of iron, man. With chains and fetters of iron. We're going to put you in shackles. Okay? And you're going to serve hardcore slavery for 1,000 years. For all the shit that you've done and you thought you could get away with. Especially to our people. All right? So there's going to be hell to pay. And it's coming. It's fast approaching. You got it, bro.
That is,
I got Leviticus 19:29. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. And this is what you see has happened with America, Babylon the Great. And the nerve of them is that they actually put their hand on the Bible, but yet this is the society that they allowed and that they push, and it goes back to the small hats. A lot of the reason why they got kicked out of Germany was because of pushing that vibration. You know, pornography, you know, those type of things. They push that heavily, and that's a very debased and evil practice, man. And then they popularize it, and now they give you an app to where you could, you know, OnlyFans and different shit to where now it's even exploded even more, you know, and what, who do you think is behind that shit? You know, it ain't us. Our people don't even have the means to do it now. They get up on there and they do it, but pushing it on a high level is the blame goes to Esau, Edom. And that's why you heard Trump come out and he said that he wants to get rid of and make a nationwide corn ban. But now it's too late in the game. Everything's already defiled and filthy. See, so for you to try to come in at this stage in the game to try to get rid of all that filth and nastiness, that's like Jeremiah would have healed Babylon. It's too late. And I think Burkina Faso, they just banned it. See, so they know, and they know that who's the one that pushes that vibration, man. The most filthiest man, the one who the Lord has sworn to have war against of generation to generation. It don't take a rocket science to figure out who Amalek is, because look at the shit they do. It's clearly the enemy of the Most High, clearly the enemy of righteousness, man. Everything they do is opposed to the Most High. Everything they do destroys life, man. Because that doesn't lead to life. Life, when it comes to men and women, you have a husband and you have a wife, and then children come forth, and they're supposed to be taught in a righteous way. That's why the Lord is going to make us perfect so that when the heathen come to us, they're going to learn that way. When you go to Amalek, are you learning that way? No, you're learning to be debased. You're learning to become an abomination. And the main ones they use to push that vibration is our people, man. That's why you're going to melt when your master melts.
right. Back. Timothy.
This is 2 Timothy chapter 3:1, and it reads, "This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come."
And we're in the last days right now, right? And so we see the perilous times, which are destructive times, on their way. And there's a lot of things going on in the world today, man, that looking at the track record of Esau Edom and looking at the things that they're inventing and coming out with, you can already see just how bad it's going to get. Because they were able to commit a lot of wickedness with little technology compared to what they now have and what they're building. So how much more do you think they can do with what they have now? Go ahead.
For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters.
Right, so lovers of their own selves. And that's what you see. There's literally something called a selfie, right? And what promotes that self-love is the social media platforms. It's all about idolizing yourself. And that's how these people get so many followers, which are like their worshipers. You have people, when you look at how these influencers, as they call them, move, they actually influence people to do things, to dress a certain kind of way. The whole concept of a trend is like a ritual. You know, somebody sets a trend, and then all of a sudden, you don't even know why you're doing it, but you're just doing it because everybody else is doing it. Yeah, the vines.
Because people start doing it, then everybody else starts doing it. And now that's why you have now what you have today, where everybody wants to be those, like you mentioned, those social media influencers. Started
really, I remember that when I came out of high school with them vines and stuff.
It's interesting because it's called a vine, which is where you get wine from. Which is the spiritually known as exactly.
Vine of Sodom.
That's it. That's it. And that's what they push. That's it. That's what they push today. So these influencers, like you got people like what's the Kai, Sinet, whatever his name is. And when you watch these videos, all he does is just scream and yell and overreact to everything. And you wonder, how does that make you famous? The whole like I show speed and all that. This is what happens when you give attention to youth. Okay, they go in their own way. They're not disciplined. They're not going in the right way. They're misleading people, and that's why the Most High is going to bring that judgment, because this world is influenced right in the wrong way.
Say the social media app, Instagram and YouTube. With YouTube, you have subscribers, which is followers. And with Instagram, you have followers, which I never got adapt to Instagram, but I know every podcast or everybody that's a YouTuber, they ask for subscribers, and when you subscribe to something, it's like a following. So when you were bringing out the word trending is just you following that person. It's you following what trend is set, or what direction they're going. Because you're saying stuff that's trendy, the language, the clothing, anything that's trending is what you follow. So it's pretty much they mind controlling or MK Ultra. They put in MK Ultra through the apps, and in turn, you don't realize it's a brainwashing mechanism because they got flashy words for it: subscribe, trend, and follow. That's it.
Like, subscribe, put the bell notification on.
Yeah. Yeah, with Facebook, it's like
Do not let them influence you.
That's it. That's it. And that's the title of my next lesson right there. You must influence them. Do not let them influence you. Because I'm copyrighting that. Because at the end of the day, man, that's why the Lord said, make your forehead hard against their foreheads, because they're wicked as hell. And if you're not careful, they're gonna get you with this. And everywhere you go, it's like on every corner, every turn. You got people. Oh, I remember thinking this. I was driving, and you got people that I forgot who. Maybe it was Harlots who was in the car. And he was like, "Yo, you got somebody crossing the street, and their mindset is, let me look more at my phone than the side in which the cars are coming." I remember when I was younger, they actually taught you how to cross the street. They told you look both ways, and they'll tell you look to your left, look to your right, look to your left again before you go. They actually taught you how to cross the street. Today, this is how they cross the street, and then they don't even realize somebody's walking. They're not even waiting till it's their turn to cross. They're just going until a car comes, then they look up, and then they turn back. And this is them. This is them, literally holding that phone, going. This is it. Looking down, looking up, going. This is people nowadays. Okay, their mind is captured into this device. It's literally like mind controlling them everywhere they go. So the hope for this world is none. All right, the only hope is really the elect. Other than that, everybody else is hopeless, and that's why they got to be burnt up. This is why that 1,000-year period is going to be a re-education period, because people have been de-educated or uneducated and dumbed down, and now the Lord needs to reset the minds of people and start getting their brains working again. Because nowadays common sense doesn't work. Sometimes, you can be in a call and ask a question and nobody says anything. And then you got to ask it again and nobody says anything. And you're like, yo, are there not people on here? And then and then they speak. And it's like, why does that happen? Because everybody in their mind is thinking somebody else is going to answer it. And then nobody answers it. And they're like, okay, well, since nobody answered it, somebody's going to think nobody answered, so let me answer. And then nobody answers again. And it's so crazy how, like, that follower syndrome, that sort of like docile sheep mentality is dangerous. Danger is coming, and then until somebody says danger is coming, let's go, nobody's going to go. And nowadays, somebody can say danger is coming, let's go, and if they don't move, nobody moves. And you sitting there like, yo, what's really like, You guys are worse than sheep.
Hey, that's the whole herd mentality, and it's crazy because this past Thursday, I was walking with mom, and basically at the entrance that we took to come to the venue, it was a long ass walk. So I said, why don't we just go through here? It looks like in my mind, I'm like, if we walk through here, based on the description you gave for us to get there, if we walk through here, it's gonna be quicker. But she's like, oh no, everybody's going through here. Let's go through here. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I didn't say anything. I said, all right, whatever. So we walked, joined a long ass line, walked through that whole place because of mad people. I said, man, you guys, you act like there was not a time where COVID was here and people were 6 feet apart. Now it's like we're all bunched together and you okay with it. Like people coughing and sneezing and you still standing like it's all good. Nowadays, when I hear people cough, I'm like, hey, what's up with that? Yo, shit. You know what I'm saying? You never know. Shit, you know? So, you know, we joined the line, we walked through the whole place, and then we finally get to the end. When we got there, the place that we walked through, it was literally no steps. So you had to glide down the damn lawn and shit like that. And I'm like, you wanna go down the lawn? Because everybody's going down the lawn. You wanna go that way? She said, oh, no, let's go around. So we ended up going around to where the stairs are at, which was gonna be the entrance that I showed her from the beginning. If we would have walked through there, we would have gotten there quicker. She said, oh, you know what? Maybe you were right. Maybe we should have gone through that way instead. And I said, well, you said to come through here. So I just said, all right, let's go through where you want to go. And she was like, see, that's the problem with following the crowd. You know, I was just trying to, oh, everybody's going, so let's just go. And then that happened. I said, okay, well, keep that in mind that we don't move like that. We don't move with the crowd. We go and do the things that we were inspired to do. We don't go based on the crowd now. She said, oh, yeah, you're right, cool. So later on, they said, oh, everyone stand up for the singing of the national anthem or whatever. I don't believe in all that national anthem bullshit. It's all fake to me. So I never stand up for it. It's just another thing that they're doing. It's just another ritual that Babylonians get into. So a couple of people start getting up. And then as soon as 1 or 2 people get up, 3, 4, maybe 10, next thing is 20, then 30, 50, everybody gets up. So then she gets up. And I'm still sitting there chilling. And ain't nobody gonna look at you and be like, hey, why don't you get up for the national anthem? So I know it's not something I have to do. Right? So I'm just sitting there and they're doing their thing and I'm just on my phone like, all right, pass the time quick so I could go back to doing what I'm supposed to do. And she stands up and they do the whole national anthem. Most Americans can't even sing the national anthem. They don't even know the words of it. They just sing a couple of parts and then that's it. I'm like, these people are so dumb, bro. You get up for something you don't even believe in. And I'm like, there is no national anthem anymore. America's spirit of being nationalistic is all dead. Does not the scriptures tell you that the men have forborne to fight? That's the first thing. Like I'm so gung-ho on my nation and on my country. I'm gonna fight and defend for our freedoms. From who? Freedoms from who? Well, who's got America so captive that they gotta go fight for freedoms? Well, that's what they tell you, right? But these people believe in this dumb shit so much. They actually stood up and they were all in the spirit. And after it was all done, hey, clapping and shit. I'm like, these people are so gone, bro. I said, you see, they already got you. That herd mentality is always going to work. It's only a few people that the Lord's gonna put in spirit, and that's the elect. That are always going to see it and be like, nah, I'm not going that way. Everybody's doing it, so you going to do it? All right, cool, go ahead and do it. But we just not going to do that. And we're going to deal with the consequences of not being with the crowd. Fuck it. Because at the end of the day, the Lord is going to fight on our behalf because we're not just doing it because we don't want to do it, but we do it because of a higher purpose, right? That the Heavenly Father says, don't go this way. Even if everybody's going that way, you know the right thing to do is to not go that way. So just don't go that way and deal with the consequences. At the end of the day, have faith that the Lord's going to protect you because he told you go this way instead of that way. So if I'm going this way because the Lord told me to go that way, I don't know what's on the road when I get there, but I know whatever it is, the Lord's he's going to take care of me, And yeah, I might look weird in the eyes of these people, but who gives a fuck about the opinions of people who going to be cooked anyway? You know what I'm saying? Like I always say that, like, okay, your family members are going to laugh at you. They're going to clown you. They're going to say, oh, why don't you want to go to... They about to start the campaign again. The Vanessa campaign and parents who going to be locked out of shit because they're not doing it with their children and you can't travel, you can't do this, you're not accepted here. You're going to go through that again. They're going to bump it right back up again. And this is when the real test begins. And it's all going to lead to the MOTB. You're going to just do it because your family's doing it. You don't want to be looked at funny. Nah, we don't believe in that shit, right? It doesn't work for us. All right, we got something bigger coming. So we're not interested in the ways of this world. We don't care. We never cared. So it's not going to change now, right? But the point is that herd mentality is exactly what Esau is going to use to ride this thing out. Influence enough people, the rest of the crowd are just going to follow automatically without even knowing what they're following. They're just going to do it because everybody's doing it. And if everyone is doing it, that means it must be good. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, oh, they're all doing it. Everyone's jumping off a bridge. Let me just jump over it because everyone is doing it. Fuck out of here, man. I see a bridge. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm not jumping that shit. Right? But how many people gonna have that spirit to be like, hold on, wait a minute. Especially when you have all the every direction is going towards that jumping off a bridge, and only a few people are like, nah, I'm gonna just fall back and I'm probably gonna walk that way. Like, nigga, it's longer. Why you gonna walk all that? Everybody's going this way. Come on, let's go. Nah, y'all got it. And you're gonna cut off friendships. You're gonna cut off family members. You're gonna cut off a whole lot of people. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, you're gonna be the one standing up there looking at them dying or falling to their death, and you be like, yeah, I told you, man, that jumping off the bridge shit, man, that's not really a good idea, because everyone is doing it. Look, you got a million people dead, and it's just one of us here just walking around like alive. You see what I'm saying? So that's the times that we're coming in, man. They're gonna push and push and push. I'm talking about the whole system is gonna come against those who want to be separated from the system and how it's moving. And that's part of the hour of temptation that we're all preparing for. Lord willing, we make it. And we believe wholeheartedly that we will make it because of Yahushua. If Yahushua wasn't there, then it's like, ah, shit, we're fucked now. But as long as Yahushua is there and our power is alive, man, we ain't got nothing to worry about, man. Bring that shit. Let's go, man. And let the Lord stand up and he gonna fight for us, man. That's the times that we're coming for, man. That's the times that we can't wait for. All right? Kolo Yabash Yahushua. You got it, bros.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is Exodus 23:2. It says, you must not, in the NLT, excuse me, you must not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you are called to testify in a dispute, do not be swayed by the crowd to twist justice. So right now, the crowd is saying one thing, and the Lord said that we're not supposed to go with the crowd. The Lord said we're supposed to go to the opposite way of what the crowd is doing. If this is if it's dealing with the elect, then that's the crowd you want to be following. If it's a righteous crowd that's doing going in a righteous direction, then you follow it. But if you see a multitude doing evil, which you can compare that to the masses of people right now, we're called to testify in the matter, which is the controversy of Zion, which is true. We're called to condemn this wicked society and the elites that run it. So we can't be swayed by the multitude that's following it, dealing with the phone, dealing with everything, the technology. It shall come as a snare unto them. So they're entrapped inside of this, in this box, in this matrix. All right, and we're supposed to testify against the works of darkness, man. So just because we see everybody doing something, and that's how the masses of people think. They see people, everybody's doing it, so why ain't you doing it? Mm-hmm. Everybody. Well, now they said that all of these tech companies, they said they want to do away with smartphones. We know what that means. We know exactly what that means. No more smartphones. So what does that mean? The smartphone's going to be in you. All right. Those that have eyes to see and ears to hear is going to know exactly what we're talking about, man. That MOTB. Okay. And now all these other guys, it always comes back to that, right? But all these other camps that have been saying something else, they're following the multitude to do evil. IUIC, that's following the multitude to do evil. ISUPK, they all do these marches and they're like cookie cutter, basically stooges, man. For Nate, okay, Johanna, the same shit. But they're not questioning. You got to have a discerning mind in this truth, man. You can't just, even the apostles themselves told us, when we learn these things, we're supposed to go into it ourselves to see if it's true. Don't just be a blind follower, man. Be a conscious person, man. Dude, and conscious through the Lord, because we're not talking about that woke bullshit. Because some people say they're conscious, but they're really not conscious. They're woke. Right. But really, they're just woke into a bunch of madness. We're the only ones that's truly woke into the knowledge of wisdom and understanding. Everybody else is asleep. So that multitude that's going off that cliff, we're the ones that's telling you, we're pulling the sheep off to the side. Like, no, don't go that way. Come this way. Or just remain here and watch what they do. Be patient and just remain and be still and watch what the Lord gonna do to these people that's following a multitude to do evil.
Right. And that's easier said than done. And that's where the whole influencer culture goes, to where now you have basically whores, right? Women that whore themselves out, and they're very famous, and you're like, how are you own mansions? You know what I'm saying? You buy these nice ass cars. You literally just post pictures and videos. They go and have podcasts and shit. They don't talk about anything important, anything. Ask yourself, all right, why should I give you 30 minutes of my time? What do I get out of this? What do you actually get out of it? And they're just speaking vain things into the air, and yet it has like 3.2 million views. Why? I remember, man, I saw this. Yo, I saw you know how Snapchat has those little clips? They got those little clips on Snapchat, and you know, you click on it, and it'll post like another clip of something else, and so on and so forth. This shit, one of them started playing, and like a few seconds in, I just thought in my head, why is this playing on my phone? Like, what's the point in watching something like this? The video was there's this I don't know if she's a model or influencer or whatever, but she's like this super plus size chick where she's like not really fat, but she's like, or you could say she's like big with a shape. Like a lot of her weight is like past her hips. She's got super wide hips. Like she's like super huge, you know. But her body is like, I don't know if she got her body done, so it doesn't look like she's just a fat chick. And this video is talking about what she ate when she went on her vacation. And I'm like, you got a 30-second to a minute video of some random stranger eating food on her vacation. Why the hell do I care about that? And then she ate this and she ate that, and she doesn't put this on her sauce, but she likes this way. Her breakfast was this on this day, and then for lunch she had a little something like this. And I'm sitting there really thinking in my head, why are people doing videos? What the hell does what somebody ate on their vacation have to do with you? In what world would that ever benefit you in any way, shape, or form? But yet they watch that. You know, you got this guy, Ashton Hall, his morning routine. Who the hell gives a damn?
Dang,
You know,
that guy's been irritating me for the. I'm sorry, for like, I'm not. You see how you acted with that video? I've watched every. I'm like, yo, how is he famous? All he's doing is running with the dog.
Yep.
He's running with the. I'm like, yo, come on, bro. He does the shit over his mouth, and he's faking dropping the Saratoga every damn time.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro, with the water. I'm like, yo, how is this guy famous? What is he famous for? And people just keep watching him. People doing memes with him. Now, what's his name? DJ Khaled did a video with him.
Yep. Mr. Beast.
What the fuck? Oh, I hate Mr. Beast. I can't stand him.
I don't know how he's so famous. Yo, man. But what does it say in the scripture? Say, oh, folly is set in great dignity, right? And the rich sit in the low place. Here it is. We're actually talking about like the divinity, the creator, the most high, like the things that actually matter. Yeah. And here it is. You get 30 views, 120 views. And you got somebody who, you look at some of the videos and it's like, okay, today we're gonna, I don't know, freaking throw water balloons at each other and shit. And they got 3.5 million views. Just because it says training with Ashton Hall. And you sitting there like, sometimes you're curious. What's all the fuss about? Maybe there's something interesting going on here. And it's a dude that wakes up in the morning, writing shit down, going and taking a shower, a little hunchback and shit. Thank you. Thank you. Why do we care? Why?
You at least gotta get 10K, bro.
Yeah. Got it. At least that. Why? You know? But it's the shit people are feeding over. And that's how you know this society is so destroyed, man. You got dudes that'll be like, I don't want to hear nothing about no God stuff. And here it is all they're scrolling through. And they sit there for hours, literally. And that's what TikTok is about. Nobody really thinks about the name TikTok. TikTok represents time. And that's what they're stealing from you, time. You sit there scrolling TikTok. Time is ticking. And you're just here scrolling. And the algorithms are designed to keep you there. You ever notice the way they work is they'll give you something real interesting, and then the next things are like, and then right before you hit the point where you're like, ain't nothing interesting on here, boom, something else that's interesting. So it's to keep your dopamine spike going. And you keep scrolling because you're looking for the next funny meme, the next interesting thing. And sometimes you don't know why you're scrolling. It's like they train your mind to like how you are when you walk. Nobody thinks about walking when they're walking. You're always thinking about something else, but your body's just moving. You don't really think about talking when you're talking. You're just moving. And that's how they train you to be on this thing here. So it's like you're in a trance. You're scrolling. Oh shit. Then you send it to somebody. Then you go back. Scroll. Sometimes somebody sends you a link. You click the link, you watch it, and then it scrolls to the next video. And now you're here 30 minutes later. And you like, how is this a thing? That's that whole meme culture. It's entered That is the definition of entertainment, right? To trap your mind. Okay? That's what they do. They trap your mind with that.
And that's a huge part of that snare, man. Because now you want to be a part of it. You want to be like involved in all this vanity and bullshit the brothers were describing. I'm not gonna lie, man. One of the best things that's gonna happen that I'm looking forward to is when the Lord just completely destroys all this shit, and mainly that the smartphone's gonna be done away with, bro. Imagine a world with no smartphone. Imagine a world where you can't even be reached. That's how the elect is gonna be. You're not gonna even be able to reach them. You're gonna have to talk to a servant to even get like, yo, we're gonna be far out the way. And that's one of the fucked up things about this world. There's no privacy. Everything's out on the open. You never have a second to yourself. Everything, oh, you ain't on social media or you're not on Instagram. You got to push your business. You got to do this. You got to do that. It's all fucking vanity, man.
Like, I'm not big enough when I was born, but I'm glad I was born in an era for the internet.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that we find to do besides streaming, what they call it on browsing or scrolling. There's so many other things that we look forward to doing, like going outside, shooting skellies, communicating, talking to one another. Because there's a lot of texting nowadays going on where you don't even have a one-on-one like how we having right now. We having a one-on-one with y'all through the unicorn. Before the unicorn, when we came out to teach, people would stop and listen. But they know that they got YouTube, so they wait for the next lesson to watch on YouTube. But we looking forward to that day when the famine of the word comes, because we're gonna see what y'all really want, how y'all really gonna do, how y'all gonna sustain yourself. Because y'all sustaining now with the food that we're giving, but the time gonna come when you're gonna have to go out there and get your own food.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard time.
I want to learn how to hunt. All gonna put it on us to be hunters, but it ain't gonna be for food.
Different kind of. I got one more precept in here. We're gonna close with that. But if any brothers got anything else beforehand, you can bring it up. If not, you jump up into that. Okay.
This is Micah chapter 2 and 10, and it reads, "Arise ye and depart."
Right, and this is why we have to arise and depart. Right, first and foremost, mentally, right, spiritually. Go ahead.
For this is not your rest.
Right, so from sleep you wake up and you depart mentally, because this place is not our rest. So the things that this place does, we don't indulge in that. Like we don't make a society in this place. We're looking for that eternal rest to come, but this is not our rest. Go ahead.
Because it is polluted.
Hence the city of harlots, right? We see all the pollution right around us. Go ahead.
It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction.
Right, and we will witness that sort of destruction for those that did not arise and depart, that stayed a part of this world. They will be destroyed with this world. But Lord willing, we be of the elect. We're gonna depart. Since we departed spiritually out of this place, the Lord's gonna help us depart physically out of this place to cause that full separation and bring that destruction upon this place. But anyway, that's pretty much it on that. With that, Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.
Shalom to you brothers and sisters who are on the comment board. Shalom to the elect. Yahweh Shai Barakatam. Shalom.